Some people love bats. Some people genuinely cannot stand them. If you are on Team Love Bats, you already know the truth that most homeowners do not. A single small brown bat eats over 1,000 mosquitoes every night, every summer, for free, for as long as it lives near your property. If you are on Team Hate Bats, you also know the truth most homeowners do not. The wrong plant in the wrong place on your patio will draw bats to your home, night after night for the rest of the season, and once they find your yard, they do not forget the address. Either way, you are in the right place tonight. Most gardening videos will not tell you what I am about to tell you. They will show you pretty flowers. They will not tell you that 11 specific night-blooming flowers, when planted in the wrong place, become a bat lighthouse, visible from a mile away. They will not tell you which one of these 11 flowers is the most powerful nocturnal attractor on Earth. And they certainly will not tell you which one of these 11 flowers is the most genuinely dangerous plant on the entire list. Dangerous enough that people have died from accidental contact with it. Dangerous enough that you might already have it growing in your yard without realizing what it is. Two mysteries hidden in this list tonight. The most powerful bat attractor, the most dangerous plant. Two different plants, hidden in two different positions. And I am not telling you which is which. Your job is to watch carefully and guess both. Drop your guesses in the comments before I reveal either answer. Tell me which plant number you think is the bat magnet. Tell me which plant number you think is the deadly one. Two mysteries, two reveals. Two reasons to watch every single plant carefully from beginning to end. 11 plants, two hidden answers. Let us begin. Plant 1, Evening Primrose. Datura biennis. The reliable, easy-growing biennial native across North America that opens its bright lemon yellow blooms right at dusk and releases a sweet citrusy scent that travels surprisingly far across the evening air. Evening Primrose is one of the simplest plants on this entire list to grow. It tolerates poor, sandy, rocky soil, drought, neglect, and hot afternoon sun. The plant forms a basal rosette of leaves the first year, then sends up tall, flowering stalks the second year that reach 3 to 5 feet tall and produce dozens of blooms across the entire summer. The flowers open in roughly 30 seconds at dusk, which you can actually watch in real time. The unfolding is one of the most beautiful subtle wildlife events you can witness in your own yard. Why bats love this plant? The dusk-opening blooms release their scent at exactly the moment hawk moths, sphinx moths, and noctuid moths become active. These moths fly to the open blooms across the entire summer evening. Bats arrive 20 to 40 minutes after the moths, hunting the active insects from above. Evening Primrose is genuinely effective at indirectly drawing bats to a property because the moth populations it sustains become a reliable hunting ground. If you love bats, plant Evening Primrose in clusters along the edges of your property where you want bat activity concentrated. Plant it 20 to 30 feet from the house, never directly under bedroom windows, where the moth populations themselves can become a nuisance through screened windows. A planting of 6 to 10 primrose stalks will sustain a meaningful moth population from June through September, which sustains bat visitation across the full season. If you hate bats, the same plant is genuinely a problem near your house. Never plant Evening Primrose within 50 feet of porch lights, outdoor seating areas, or any window you keep open in summer evenings. If you already have Evening Primrose growing in problem locations, the simplest solution is to mow it down before flowering in late June, which prevents bloom development for that season. The plant will return the following year from seed, and you will need to repeat the mowing. Plant 2, Night-Blooming Jasmine. Cestrum nocturnum, the single most intensely fragrant plant on this entire list, and one of the strongest nocturnal pollinator attractors in residential horticulture. Night-blooming jasmine forms a substantial woody shrub reaching 8 to 10 feet tall in warm climates, smaller when grown in containers in colder zones. The flowers themselves are unremarkable visually. Small, tubular, greenish-white, easy to miss in daylight. But the moment the sun drops below the horizon, the plant releases a fragrance so powerful that a single mature shrub perfumes an entire half-acre property. The scent has been described as sweet, almost overwhelming. with notes of vanilla and jasmine and something more primal underneath that travels much farther than ordinary garden fragrance. Why bats love this plant? The intense evening fragrance is specifically designed by evolution to attract long-distance nocturnal pollinators. Hawk moths and sphinx moths fly directly toward the scent from hundreds of feet away. Bats follow the moths within 30 to 60 minutes of dusk. A single mature night-blooming jasmine in your yard is essentially a beacon visible to nocturnal wildlife across an enormous radius. Critical safety on this plant before either side acts. Night-blooming jasmine is genuinely toxic. The leaves, berries, and sap contain solanine and atropine-like alkaloids that cause severe gastrointestinal distress, hallucinations, and in extreme cases death if ingested. The plant is dangerous to pets and livestock. Do not plant it where dogs, cats, or young children can access it freely. If you grow it in elevated containers or fenced areas away from curious mouths. If you love bats, plant night-blooming jasmine in a large patio container that you can position 20 to 30 feet from outdoor seating areas. The fragrance carries that distance easily. You get the bat attraction benefit without the overwhelming perfume sitting directly under your nose. If you hate bats, this plant is the single fastest way to turn your yard into a nightly bat highway. If you have one already and want it gone, prune the entire shrub back to ground level in early spring before bloom development. The plant will regrow, but the bloom flush will be reduced for that season. Continued aggressive spring pruning over 2 to 3 seasons will significantly reduce overall bloom production. 2 plants in. 2 mysteries on the table. Drop both your guesses in the comments right now. Which plant number on this list is the most powerful bat attractor of all 11? And which plant number on this list is the most dangerous one of all? They are 2 different plants. 2 different answers. Plant 1, plant 2, plant 9, plant 11. Whatever your gut is telling you for either question, drop your numbers in the comments before I reveal anything. The clock is running on both guesses. Make them now. Plant 3, moonflower Ipomoea alba. The dramatic climbing vine with massive, pure white trumpet-shaped flowers up to 6 inches across that practically glow in the dark and open with theatrical timing right at sundown. Moonflower is a heat-loving annual vine in most American zones, perennial only in zones 9 through 11. The vines reach 10 to 15 feet in a single season, climbing fences, trellises, pergolas, or any vertical structure you provide. The flowers open right at dusk, often in 15 to 30 seconds, which is one of the most genuinely magical things you can watch happen in a home garden. The petals unfurl visibly. The fragrance is sweet, slightly almond-like, and intensely attractive to nocturnal pollinators. Why bats love this plant? The combination of the pale luminous flower color and the intense evening fragrance makes moonflower one of the most effective nocturnal attractors in residential horticulture. The white color reflects available moonlight and starlight, acting as a visual beacon for hawk moths and large nocturnal pollinators that hunt by sight at low light levels. Bats arrive within 45 minutes of dusk to hunt the moths gathered at the blooms. Safety note: moonflower seeds contain LSA, an alkaloid that causes hallucinations and severe gastrointestinal distress if ingested. The seeds are the same shape and size as morning glory seeds and have been historically misused as recreational drugs. Children and pets should not have access to the seed pods. If you love bats, train moonflower up a tall trellis or pergola structure where the blooms open visibly above your sight line. The visual show of dusk opening, combined with the steady moth and bat activity over the following hour, is one of the most rewarding evening garden experiences available to a home gardener. Plant the seeds in late May after all frost danger has passed and keep them well watered during the establishment period. If you hate bats, do not plant moonflower anywhere near your house. The vine will outgrow your control. The blooms will continue every evening from July through October. The moth and bat activity above the vine becomes part of your evening environment, whether you want it or not. If you have moonflower growing on a structure you cannot remove, cut the vines back to the base in early summer before bloom development. The plant will not have time to regenerate enough vine length to produce a meaningful bloom flush that season. Plant 4. Datura, also called moonflower in some regions and angel's trumpet in others. Datura inoxia, the plant that takes everything moonflower does and turns the dial to maximum. The flowers are massive, 6 to 10 inches across, pure white, trumpet-shaped, opening in dramatic theatrical fashion at exactly dusk, with a fragrance so intense it can be smelled from 20 feet away the moment it opens. Datura is a substantial annual or short-lived perennial that grows into a sprawling shrub 3 to 5 feet wide in a single season. The plant produces blooms continuously from midsummer through first frost, with every single bloom opening at dusk and lasting only a single night. By morning, the spent flower is closed and wilting on the stem. This nightly performance happens repeatedly across the entire summer, with mature plants producing 6 to 15 open blooms simultaneously on any given evening. Critical safety on this plant before anything else. Datura is genuinely one of the most dangerous plants in residential horticulture. Every part of the plant contains scopolamine, atropine, and hyoscyamin. These compounds cause severe hallucinations, delirium, dangerous heart rate elevation, dangerous body temperature elevation, and in extreme cases death. Children and pets that ingest even small amounts of Datura have died. The seeds are particularly concentrated and have been historically misused as recreational hallucinogens, which has caused fatalities every year in the United States for as long as the plant has been grown. Do not grow Datura where children, pets, or livestock can access it. Treat the plant like a loaded weapon in your yard. Why bats love this plant? Datura is among the most intensely night pollinator-adapted plants available to home gardeners. The massive pale blooms are visible to nocturnal pollinators from extreme distances. The intense fragrance carries hundreds of feet across still evening air. The bloom timing is precisely calibrated to dusk, which means hawk moths and sphinx moths arrive within minutes of opening. The moth populations that gather at Datura blooms are larger and more concentrated than at any other plant on this list. Bats arrive in proportionally larger numbers because the moth concentration is so dense. A single mature Datura plant can sustain bat visitation for an entire summer at levels that no other patio-scale plant on this list approaches. If you love bats, Datura is the strongest single attractor you can plant. Container. Grow it in a large pot you can place 20 to 30 feet from your seating area. Never plant it in ground beds where children or pets roam. Wear gloves whenever you touch the plant. Wash hands thoroughly after any contact with the foliage or seeds. Replace the soil mix annually because the plant contaminates surrounding soil with its alkaloid compounds. If you hate bats, Datura is the single fastest way to make your bat problem permanent. If you find Datura growing in your yard that you did not plant, remove it immediately. Wear heavy gloves. Bag the entire plant, including the root system. Dispose of it with regular household trash, never compost it. Watch the area for seedlings throughout the following spring and remove any that emerge before they reach blooming size. Plant 5. 4 o'clock flower, Mirabilis jalapa. The reliable old-fashioned cottage garden flower named for its precise blooming schedule. The flowers open at approximately 4 in the afternoon and stay open through the entire night until the following morning. 4 o'clocks form substantial bushy plants 2 to 3 feet tall, covered in trumpet-shaped flowers in vibrant magenta, deep pink, yellow, white, or striped combinations across the same plant. The blooms open late afternoon, which makes this plant unique on this list. Most of the others open precisely at dusk. The late afternoon opening means the plant is already actively releasing fragrance and visual attraction at the moment evening pollinators become active, which gives the bloom a longer activity window than any other plant on this list. Why bats love this plant. The extended bloom window from late afternoon through entire night until dawn supports a wider range of nocturnal pollinators than narrowly dusk-opening plants. Hawk moths, sphinx moths, and a variety of smaller noctuid moths all visit 4 o'clocks across the full evening. The diverse moth population creates a sustained hunting environment for bats from early evening through the end of the night. Bats often establish nightly hunting circuits that include 4 o'clock plantings as reliable feeding stations across the entire summer. Safety note: 4 o'clock seeds are mildly toxic to children, pets, and livestock, causing nausea and digestive distress if ingested. The seeds are visually distinctive, small, black, hard, about the size of a peppercorn. Children sometimes find them and treat them as marbles or small treasures. Keep this in mind when deciding placement. If you love bats, plant 4 o'clocks in clusters in flower beds visible from your evening seating area. The extended bloom window means the plant is actively beautiful and active much longer than other entries on this list, giving you a longer evening show. The plant self-seeds readily and will establish a permanent patch in your garden over 2 to 3 seasons. If you hate bats, 4 o'clocks are a problem precisely because of the same self-seeding habit. Once established, the plant returns year after year from seed, regardless of whether you replanted it. Remove every flowering plant before seed set in late summer, which means deadheading aggressively or pulling the entire plant by mid-August. Continued effort over multiple seasons will eventually exhaust the seed bank in the soil. Plant 6, Yucca, Yucca filamentosa, commonly called Adam's needle. The architectural southern native with rigid sword-shaped evergreen foliage that sends up dramatic 6-foot flower, spikes covered in dozens of creamy white bell-shaped blooms in midsummer. Yucca is one of the most genuinely architectural plants in North American horticulture. The evergreen rosette of sword-shaped leaves stays beautiful year-round. The summer bloom spikes are dramatic, reaching 6 to 7 feet tall above the basal foliage, lined with creamy bell-shaped flowers that hang open at night. Once established, Yucca lives for decades with essentially zero maintenance and survives across USDA zones 4 through 10. Why bats love this plant? Yucca has one of the most genuinely fascinating relationships in plant biology. The species is exclusively pollinated by a single specialist insect, the yucca moth, which evolved alongside the plant over millions of years and cannot reproduce without it. Yucca moths are exclusively nocturnal. They emerge at dusk in massive numbers when yucca is blooming, visit the flowers to lay their eggs while pollinating the blooms, and become a dense concentrated food source for bats throughout the bloom period of late June through July. A mature yucca colony in bloom is one of the most reliable bat feeding locations available in the American garden. If you love bats, plant yucca in a sunny, dry corner where the architectural foliage adds year-round structure to your landscape. The midsummer bloom show is brief, roughly 3 weeks, but during that window the moth and bat activity above the bloom spikes is genuinely remarkable. Yucca colonies multiply slowly from offsets at the base, and a single planting becomes a permanent garden feature over a decade. If you hate bats, yucca is actually one of the easier plants on this list to manage in this regard. The bloom window is brief. The moth activity is concentrated to those 3 weeks. If you cut the developing bloom spike off at the base before it opens, you eliminate the bat attraction effect for that season entirely, while keeping the architectural foliage you may already love. Yucca foliage itself does not attract bats. Only the flowering spike does. This is the most surgical solution available on the entire list. Stop everything. You have now seen 6 plants, and one of those 6 was the answer to the first mystery. It was plant number 4, Datura. Think back to what I told you about it just a few minutes ago. The single most intensely night pollinator adapted plant on this entire list. The largest blooms, the most powerful fragrance, the most concentrated moth populations, the most consistent bat visitation of anything that fits in a residential garden. The signals were all there. Flower size, fragrance intensity, dusk timing, all 3 at maximum levels. The gardeners who notice those details are the gardeners who build the best gardens. Now think carefully about what this means tonight. If you love bats, Datura is the plant. Plant it, container grow it. Position it 20 to 30 feet from your evening seating area. Keep it away from children and pets. Within 2 weeks of installation, you will have measurable bat activity above your yard every evening from now through first frost. If you hate bats, Datura is the plant you might already have growing in your yard that you did not realize was the cause. Walk outside tonight after this video ends. Look for the massive pale trumpet-shaped flowers opening at dusk. If you find them, you found your bat problem. Remove the plant. Bag the entire thing. Watch for seedlings next spring. Your bat activity will drop within 7 to 10 nights. But here is what I have not told you yet. Datura is not the most dangerous plant on this list. Datura is dangerous, genuinely dangerous. But the most dangerous plant on this entire list is still hidden in the 5 plants you have not yet seen. Pay close attention to plants 7 through 11, because one of them is more concentrated, more toxic, and has caused more documented deaths in residential gardens than Datura has. The deadly mystery is still open. Drop your guess in the comments right now. Which plant number among the remaining 5 is the deadly one? Subscribe to this channel right now and hit the bell so the next mystery video finds you when it drops. While you are commenting your danger guess, tell me which country you are gardening in. United States, Canada, United Kingdom. I read every single comment. Plant 7, night phlox. Zaluzianska capensis, also called midnight candy, for the intensely sweet vanilla fragrance the small white blooms release after dark. Night phlox is a smaller compact plant than most others on this list, reaching only 8 to 12 inches tall, but the impact of a mass planting is genuinely remarkable. The small white flowers are completely closed during daylight and look entirely unremarkable. After sunset, the flowers open and release a vanilla-sweet fragrance so powerful that a single small planting perfumes an entire patio. The fragrance is described by most who experience it for the first time as one of the most beautiful scents in the entire residential garden. Why bats love this plant? The intensely sweet vanilla fragrance is specifically attractive to nocturnal moths and small evening insects. The compact, low-growing habit means the bloom activity is concentrated close to the ground, which makes the plant easy for bats to hunt over. Bats often establish low-altitude hunting patterns directly above mass night phlox plantings, sometimes flying within 4 to 6 feet of the ground in pursuit of the gathered insects. The visible bat activity at low altitude is one of the most memorable wildlife experiences available in a home garden. Note on safety. Night phlox is among the safest plants on this entire list. The plant is non-toxic to humans, pets, and livestock. There is no documented poisoning risk. The most dangerous plant on this list is not night phlox. Keep watching. If you love bats, plant night phlox in mass groupings of 15 to 20 plants in a sunny patio bed or container collection. Position them where you can sit nearby in the evening and experience both the fragrance and the visible low-altitude bat hunting that follows. Of all the plants on this list, night phlox is the most intimate experience because the bat activity happens close enough to see clearly. If you hate bats, the intimate low-altitude hunting that night phlox attracts is precisely the problem. Bats flying within feet of seated humans on a patio is the experience that turns most casual bat haters into committed bat haters. Do not plant night phlox within 30 feet of any outdoor seating area where you spend evening hours. If you already have it growing in problem locations, the plant is a short-season annual in most climates and will not persist beyond one growing season without active replanting. Plant 8, Casablanca lily, Lilium casablanca. The legendary white oriental lily, considered by many florists to be the single most beautiful cut flower available in residential horticulture, with massive 10-inch blooms in pure white that release an intense sweet fragrance starting in late afternoon and continuing through the entire night. Casablanca lily forms tall, elegant stalks reaching 3 to 4 feet tall, each topped with 3 to 5 enormous trumpet-shaped flowers in pure white. The fragrance is famously intense. Many people consider Casablanca the most fragrant of all white lilies. The combination of size, color, and fragrance makes this plant a heavyweight in residential horticulture, valued for cut flower production, garden display, and wedding florist supply. Why bats love this plant? The combination of pale luminous flower color, intense evening fragrance, and significant bloom size makes Casablanca lily a highly effective nocturnal pollinator attractor. The blooms are visible to moths from long distances by both scent and sight, and the moths gather in large numbers at established plantings. Bats follow the moths within 30 to 60 minutes of dusk and establish hunting patterns over Casablanca beds throughout the bloom window. Critical safety on lilies. All true lilies, including Casablanca, are extremely toxic to cats specifically. A cat that simply walks through pollen from a Casablanca lily, then licks its paws, can experience acute kidney failure and die within 72 hours if untreated. This toxicity is uniquely severe in cats. Dogs and other pets are not affected to the same degree, but cats absolutely cannot be exposed to lily pollen. This is a serious toxicity, but it is species-specific. The most dangerous plant on this list affects humans, pets, livestock, and any living thing that comes into contact with it. Casablanca is dangerous to cats specifically. The deadly mystery plant is dangerous to everyone. Keep watching. If you love bats, plant Casablanca lilies in groups of 5 to 7 bulbs in a sunny, well-drained bed. The bulbs are planted in fall for the following summer bloom. Once established, the plants return reliably every year for decades from the same bulbs. If you hate bats, the multi-week bloom period of Casablanca means the bat attraction effect spans most of midsummer. If you have the lilies already planted and cannot remove them, deadheading the spent blooms immediately removes the developing seed structures and reduces fragrance production for the remainder of the bloom window. Removal of the bulbs entirely is the only permanent solution, done in fall after the foliage has died back naturally. Plant 9. Honeysuckle, specifically the evening fragrant Lonicera periclyminum varieties. The climbing perennial vine with tubular flowers in cream, pink, and yellow that releases its strongest fragrance after sundown across long, warm summer evenings. Honeysuckle forms a substantial climbing vine reaching 12 to 15 feet on trellises, fences, or other structures. The flowers are small individually but appear in clusters across the entire vine, with bloom flushes continuing from late spring through early fall. The fragrance is sweet, complex, layered with honey and citrus notes, and intensifies noticeably after sundown when the plant releases more of its volatile compounds to attract long-distance pollinators. Why bats love this plant? The extended bloom season from May through September means honeysuckle provides a much longer attraction window than narrowly seasonal plants. The intense evening fragrance specifically targets long-distance nocturnal moths, and the dense cluster habit means moths gather in significant numbers at any given vine. Bats establish reliable hunting circuits that include established honeysuckle plantings across the entire warm season. Note on safety. Honeysuckle berries on some species can cause mild gastrointestinal upset if ingested in volume, but the plant is not considered seriously toxic. Honeysuckle is not the most dangerous plant on this list. 2 plants remain. Keep watching. Note on honeysuckle species. Many honeysuckle species sold in North America are invasive non-native plants that displace native vegetation, specifically Lonicera japonica. Japanese honeysuckle is invasive across most of the United States. If you choose to plant honeysuckle for bat attraction, choose the European native Lonicera periclyminum or the American native Lonicera sempervirens, both of which deliver the same evening fragrance benefit without the invasive ecological problems. If you love bats, train honeysuckle up a sturdy structure positioned where the evening fragrance carries to your seating area. The extended bloom season means you experience the bat attraction benefit across most of the summer rather than during a single brief window. Honeysuckle vines establish quickly and reach full size within 2 to 3 years from planting. If you hate bats, honeysuckle near the house is a long-term problem because of that same extended bloom season. The vine produces fragrance continuously from May through September. Aggressive pruning back to the base in early spring before bloom development is the most effective non-removal solution, but it must be repeated annually. Complete removal requires digging out the entire root system, which is substantial in mature plants. 9 plants in, 2 to go, and the deadly mystery is narrowing fast. Of the 2 plants you have not yet seen, one of them is the answer. Just 2 plants left. Plant 10. Plant 11. One of them is the most dangerous plant in this entire list, the one that has caused more documented deaths in residential gardens than any other ornamental plant legally sold in nurseries. Make your final guess now. Plant 10 or plant 11. Drop your number in the comments. And if this video has already changed how you think about your yard tonight, Share this video with a gardener friend who needs to see it. The gardeners who share knowledge generously are the ones who build real community. Plant 10. Flowering tobacco. Nicotiana alata and Nicotiana sylvestris. The dramatic ornamental tobacco relatives with tall flowering stalks and tubular star-shaped flowers in white, cream, lime green, or soft pink that open at dusk and release an intensely sweet fragrance through the entire evening. Flowering tobacco is one of the most underrated plants on this entire list. The Nicotiana sylvestris variety in particular forms a substantial 5 to 6 foot tall plant covered in long drooping tubular flowers, mostly pure white, that look genuinely architectural in a perennial border. The fragrance is sweet, intense, comparable to jasmine but warmer in character, and carries significant distance across still evening air. Why bats love this plant? Nicotiana species are pollinated almost exclusively by hawk moths, which evolved to feed on the deeply tubular flowers with their unusually long proboscises. The relationship is so specialized that hawk moths fly to Nicotiana flowers from extreme distances when they detect the fragrance. The concentrated hawk moth activity over established Nicotiana plantings becomes a primary feeding station for bats during the bloom window of midsummer through first frost. Safety note: all Nicotiana species contain nicotine and related alkaloids in the foliage. The plant is toxic to children, pets, and livestock if ingested in significant quantities. Nicotine poisoning from large plant consumption can be serious, but is rarely fatal in typical residential contact scenarios. Nicotiana is dangerous, but it is not the most dangerous plant on this list. One plant remains. If you love bats, plant Nicotiana sylvestris in a back-of-border location where the architectural height adds vertical interest to your evening garden. The combination of dusk-opening blooms and intense sweet fragrance creates a strong attraction signal that pulls hawk moths and bats from a wide radius. The plant is an annual in most American zones and reseeds modestly to return the following year. If you hate bats, the same attraction makes Nicotiana a problem in patio locations. Remove the plant by simply pulling it before seed set in late summer. The annual life cycle means that one season of careful removal eliminates the plant from your yard permanently, unless seeds drift in from neighboring properties. Plant 11. Brugmansia, also called angel's trumpet, the tree-form relative of Datura. Brugmansia species. This is it. This is the answer to the second mystery. This is the most dangerous plant in this entire list, and the one I have saved for last for the reason you are about to understand. Brugmansia forms a substantial small tree or large shrub, reaching 6 to 10 feet tall when grown as a container patio plant, larger as a true tropical perennial in zones 9 through 11. The enormous trumpet-shaped flowers hang downward from the branches like dramatic chandeliers, reaching 8 to 12 inches long. The blooms come in pure white, soft pink, peach, yellow, or coppery orange, depending on the cultivar, and they open at dusk, releasing an intensely sweet fragrance that perfumes a substantial radius around. The plant. From a pure ornamental standpoint, the plant is one of the most spectacular evening flowers available in residential horticulture. But here is why Brugmansia is the answer to the danger mystery. Every part of the plant contains scopolamine, atropine, and hyoscyamin at higher concentrations than Datura, higher. The same compounds, more potent. People have been hospitalized simply from drinking water that contained Brugmansia plant material. Children have died from chewing fallen flowers from patio specimens. Pets have died from grazing fallen foliage. Livestock have died from accidental ingestion in fields where the plant escaped cultivation. Researchers handling the plant for laboratory work have reported symptoms simply from absorbing the alkaloids through skin contact with sap. Documented Brugmansia poisoning deaths have occurred in the United States, the United Kingdom, and across Europe within the last decade. The plant is legally sold at nurseries with no warning label in most jurisdictions. The plant is the single most genuinely dangerous ornamental flower sold in American residential horticulture today, and almost no homeowner who owns one understands what they actually have in their yard. This is the plant most homeowners never realize is dangerous. The dose escalation from Datura to its tree-form relative is real. Brugmansia was saved for last on this list for this reason. The one ornamental flower that genuinely warrants the warning label it does not currently carry. The gardeners who connect those signals, flower size, dusk timing, fragrance intensity, dose escalation across related species, are the gardeners who notice what most people walk right past: why bats love this plant. The combination of the massive flower size, the dramatic pale color, the intense dusk-released fragrance, and the persistent multi-night blooming pattern makes Brugmansia one of the strongest nocturnal pollinator attractors available to home gardeners. The plant draws hawk moths and large nocturnal pollinators from significant distances, and bats arrive within the same 45-minute window as the moth populations gather. If you love bats, Brugmansia is among the most rewarding patio plants for evening wildlife viewing, with appropriate caution that you now understand. Container grow it in a large pot positioned at least 30 feet from outdoor seating areas where children or pets could access it. Move the container indoors in fall, before frost in cold climates. Wash hands thoroughly after any contact with the foliage or spent blooms. If you hate bats, Brugmansia is the plant most likely to create a permanent bat problem at your property because of the multi-night blooming pattern that sustains activity continuously across the warm season. And now you also know it is the plant most likely to cause genuine harm to children or pets if you have one growing in your yard. Complete removal is the only permanent solution. Wear heavy gloves. Bag every part of the plant, including roots and fallen flowers. Dispose with household trash. Never compost. Watch the planting site for resprouts the following spring and remove any new growth before it can mature. 11 plants, 2 mysteries, 2 answers. Datura at plant 4 for the most powerful bat attractor. Brugmansia at plant 11 for the most dangerous plant of all. Some of you are walking outside after this video ends to plant one of these, position another in a container, train moonflower up a new trellis, or order Casablanca bulbs for fall planting. Some of you are walking outside after this video ends to remove plants that have been quietly drawing bats to your patio for years, or removing plants that have been quietly endangering your family for years. Both are correct actions. Both serve your honest preference. The point of this video was never to tell you which side to be on. The point was to give you the actual information you needed to make the call your way. The gardeners who watch a video like this all the way to the end are the gardeners who think carefully about their yards. The gardeners who notice when a plant description emphasizes flower size and fragrance intensity and dusk timing all in the same paragraph. The gardeners who connect those signals to the underlying biology rather than skipping to the next plant. The gardeners who think across related species and understand the chemistry behind ornamental flowers. The gardeners who read between the lines instead of taking surface explanations at face value. Those qualities are genuinely rare in this world, and the gardening community is better tonight for having gardeners like that in it. The gardeners who share what they learn with their neighbors rather than hoarding the knowledge are the gardeners who build real community. The world needs more of them, not fewer. Subscribe to this channel before you go, because next week we cover an entirely different mystery in a different list, with both answers hidden in different positions than tonight. The gardeners who watch every video on this channel are the ones who get good at guessing the answers faster every time. Drop one comment below telling me whether you are Team Love Bats or Team Hate Bats, because honestly, both teams welcome here. The garden is yours. The night sky above it is yours. Decide what flies through it.